How can I support you today, love?
Interesting. I said this before we jumped on. Like, I kind of like the last time we were together, I was really like excited for it. I felt like it was really timely to have this coaching session with you. But today, I think because I've been more settled over the last couple of weeks, I said this to you before, like I'm a bit anxious as to what's going to come up or what I want to get out of today. So yeah, just feeling a bit uneasy in that sense. Um, but in terms of like, I guess life or even reflections from our last session, going deep with the inner child, my awareness that there's still a lot of work to do there, in terms of like building a practice of like honoring myself and connecting with that part of myself. Um, I had a really good buddy session with Megs last week where she talked a bit about the parts work with me, like, and similar to inner child of like things that come up for myself. And it was a lot to do with my relationship with my husband and um, like things that are coming up for him. There was like a really heavy cloud over us for a bit. And I think it was because I was moving through a lot of deep stuff and not feeling like I had the support from him. And when a few moments blew up when we didn't have our connection time, it was really eye opening for him to kind of open up and I guess be aware of his kind of attachment style and that he's very avoidant and avoids conflict and kind of just shuts down. And it was the first time we were able to connect like that from instead of me just always talking at him about like, you know, my triggers and whatnot, he was able to go in and reflect for himself. So that was really powerful too, because that was a heavy cloud that was over me from our last session of feeling like I almost vent to him too much and like, you know, dump on him for support and him kind of realizing that he doesn't actually like he even said he replied in a text message over something that blew up and he was like, now that I'm writing this down, it's brought to my awareness that I do like avoid conflict and whatnot. So just the power of things like that I do naturally, like journaling. I'm like, holy dooly, like it's so powerful for everyone to kind of, you know, instead of blowing up at your loved ones, how important it is to like just write it out and then like it's there for you of what the actual problem is. So yeah, I don't know what to get out of that part, but yeah, I guess from like I said before, I don't know what I want out of today
Mm,
necessarily.
mm.
Mm.
So you said that you were a little bit apprehensive and a little bit uncomfortable. So am I sensing some worry about the certain parts that you're not sort of wanting to go to, or certain things you don't want to kind of explore?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like I said to you, like, shit, what am I going to have to work on now? Like, I feel like there's so many things that are popping up into my awareness,
Mm-hmm.
especially the inner child work. Like, nothing's been reflected back to me more at the moment of my daughter. And I know everyone says to you, like, oh, three's hard and it's just the age and whatnot. But the reflections that she's giving back to me
Mm-hmm.
in how I can support her and like hold space for her big emotion
Yeah.
when I'm still so triggered. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm just proving it really, it's still very difficult. And it shows that there is a lot of like wounds from me being able to express emotion when I was a child. So, like, how I nurture myself, like I said last time, to be able to hold that space for her in that moment. Yeah. And just lots of transitions that
Yeah.
I know are coming up. Like, I've avoided daycare for her for a long time because I just like, there's a lot of, I guess, blocks for me there of like wanting to be the sole provider and, you know, the one that lets her feel a lot of emotion and just worried that that will get, you know, just protector mode, like worried that that might get not nurtured in school. You know what I mean? Because I know how I've worked in schools and I know how busy and overwhelming they are for staff to be able to provide the space for kids to express emotion. So yeah, just in like a bit of a like transition space for that. And am I sending her because is it like I know that I need time to be able to do my work, but is it still the right thing to do? You know? Yeah.
How old is she?
Yeah. She's 3.
Okay. So there's you know, a level of, I guess, protection there, making sure that she's safe to be who she is and express herself freely, and not wanting that to be drummed out of her, or, you know, for her to not be able to do that, to have that level of comfort of being who she is for as long as possible before she's asked to change.
Yeah.
Is that what you're meaning? Yeah. Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah.
So did you get a chance to do that
as a child?
Yeah.
This is something that I always struggle to understand with my relationship, especially with my mum, is that I was very attached to her. So bit of context, and I've said this before, like older sister who required 24-hour care, but I always remember I don't have much memory before 5 at all. And that shows that there's obviously dissociation there and whatnot. Like my memory is very clouded from childhood. But I do remember obviously the way I felt when my parents split. And I remember very much, and it's in my awareness now, but possibly the relationship changing when my parents split, of becoming like a best friend to my mum, not the mother-daughter relationship. And then how that really my attachment to her like was super strong in terms of, it's coming to my awareness now that I'm talking about it, maybe turning into the protector for her. And that like I was so like I couldn't do a lot of things without her. Like as much, it was like I wouldn't go to school camp without mum being there. I wouldn't go on basketball trips without mum being there. And even the sharing of stuff growing up was very open, almost like, yeah, a best friend kind of relationship. And I'm also aware that a lot of emotion was suppressed during that time as well. So yeah, like you said, how did it happen for me? Like I know I was cared for a lot by my grandparents, where that generational trauma of like generational patterns of expressing emotion, that wasn't there for them as well. So I know that I was around that growing up. And I know I was in like family daycare, like smaller environments of like friends who mum and dad kind of knew more so. So it's, yeah, there's a lot of, we've spoken about perfectionism and kind of control. There's a lot of control for me to release, to allow other people into my daughter's life, you know, that can care for her.
Yeah.
And I really struggle with our village, like feeling like I don't have a village, but then also like I control that. Like I'm very much aware that I'm big control freak about that. So yeah.
So I'm curious, right? It sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that when you were a child, the way you wished to connect, or what you really searched for, was that close one-on-one with your main caregiver. With, I'm not saying your dad wasn't, but it seems like your mum was the one that you craved the love from. And it seemed like that is that how you would define or did define being loved? Is like when I have time with mom, when she gives me time, I feel loved. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Yep.
Okay. So if we mirror that to what you are doing to your daughter right now, it seems similar to me, as in I need to give my daughter all this time. Like, what's going on right now? I notice you.
Oh, it's exactly the same. And it's like I actually said to Locke yesterday, and I feel like about saying this, there's like shame in the fact I said to him yesterday, I was like, my energy's been drained the days that I've been with her like all day and her big emotion. And I said this to Locke, I was like, he came home yesterday and I'd had a full day with her. Um, and we talk about like, you know, doing things throughout our day that fill our cup up. And I've been journaling about things that make me feel in flow and that are force.
Mm.
And I was like, I feel so much shame that it was like forceful, the time that I had with her, not like lit up by it,
Mm.
you know, and there's so much shame in it, saying that out loud for me. And I couldn't even write about it. Locke was like, go and do your, you know, what you've been doing. And I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Yeah.
And even saying it out now loud now, like I feel my body like I almost get shivers of like saying it. But yeah,
Yeah.
that makes total sense.
So I'm curious, how, like, if you would guess, because obviously your daughter's not here and she might not be verbally able to sort of express it, but how do you think she craves love? Like, how do you, what's her sort of love language? Is it similar to you, or would it be different? If you put yourself away for a moment and just focus on her, I can see you smiling. So, yeah.
Hers is physical touch.
Ah.
And it's yeah, and I do like she always asks me to play, but like
Mhm.
and I do know this like with parents, it's only I do think because she doesn't have a sibling and she doesn't like have younger children around her in the house. So she wants people to play with. But I see her lit up a lot more because her dad's engaged with play, whereas I'm like, you know, she wants the cuddles from me and the
Mhm.
um that yeah, you know, that time she wants me to fall asleep with her, and I'm fine with that. But my love language, which I've always said, but whether it's right, whether it's that like attachment style, I've always said it's quality time.
Mm.
um but yeah, hers, what she wants from me is often touch when she wants it, physical touch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm. So
And I
seems like,
even like the other afternoon,
yeah.
sorry, you go.
Yeah, go.
Oh, I was just the other afternoon when I did have my work day and she spent the day with my sister. Coming home, I didn't go to the gym in the morning, which is normally like my bucket filler for the day. So I set Locks like go in the afternoon. I'll get the like dinner sorted and hang out with Eden. And she just lost her shit. Like when I kind of did the quick like pick up, hung out with her for 20 minutes, and then like mummy's going to the gym, and she like screamed for 20 minutes. Locke said when I left, like throwing up, like that big emotion. And I was like, I know that I needed to do this for myself, but there's still that like level of like guilt and shame. Is like, oh my god, like she obviously needed to be with me, or but it was just like when I was driving out, all she wanted was a cuddle, you know. So I went back and gave that cuddle, but it's just that physical touch for longer. And yeah, I'm aware of it, but I don't act on it because yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh. So this is interesting, right? Because so for you, it's more sort of would you say, so for her it's physical touch, you say for you it's more, it's what's your love language? Quality time.
I thought it was quality time. Yeah.
Mm. Does it still feel like it is that, or?
Mm, no.
Mm.
And I've been it's almost like like you said, a forceful one, like one that is a way that's what shows we love each other, you know,
Mm.
because
Sure.
Locks is exactly this. He's physical touch. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I'm like, you know, in the control that we need to spend time together, and that's what lights us up. But like a lot of the time when I am doing these whole after each day, what put me in flow and what put me in force, like a forceful, it was very much fulfilling. The flow stuff was like doing this work, doing my study, connecting with people who are sharing the same thing, you know, and the force was like dealing with big emotion
Mm.
and, you know, doing what my daughter's asking me to do. Do you know what I mean? And
Mm.
having surface level conversations. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it seems like, you know, the love language could be more to do with connecting deeply with people, as in
Mm,
you're craving deep connection. And I remember in the beginning of our conversation today, you spoke about how you were connecting with your husband, and sometimes you're feeling like, you know, I'm talking so much, and you know, it almost feels like it's a bit too much. I'm throwing too much on him. But if that's your love language, that's how you connect, right? So it's like, oh, but then it's
mm-hmm,
not right. But it seems to me that that is how you that's your touch, as in you're that sort of
mm,
emotional touch. You need the emotional touch, whilst your husband might need the
mm-hmm,
physical touch. He needs the hugs, the encouragement, the physical sort of connection. Not that you don't need it, we all need all these things, right?
mm,
But the importance for you in connecting deeply on an emotional level, being able to talk about things, that's how you sort of feel that you're loved. That's how you feel satisfied. Whilst for him, it's a little bit different. And for your daughter, it's similar to maybe
mm-hmm.
your husband, then it's that physical touch, being physically around. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, if did you go back and give her that hug, like, or did you think about it after, or did you come home and give her that hug, or what made you go? Or did you do anything that made her soothe and settle?
So when I drove out, she was like at the top of the driveway, like calling out to me. So I stopped and she was saying, I want a hug.
Mm.
And I went back and gave her the hug and I said, I'll be back soon. And Locke's like, go, go, go. And she was okay as I was driving out. You could tell she was upset and waved. But then Locke's message, I was like, is she all right? And he messaged saying, the whole neighborhood thinks that like I'm killing her by the sound that she's making.
Mm.
But, and he said like it lasted a long time. But then when I came home, she raced up straight to me, big hug. I just sat
Mm.
down with her and spent some time, you know, touch, watching a bit of like telly with her while Locke was just finishing off dinner. But yeah, now that I think about it, it's like I'm forcing on the relationship what I think is love, and that's quality time. And
Yeah.
now that I'm aware that even though as I was younger, thinking quality time was how I was given love, that what I'm craving now, that emotional deep connection wasn't there,
Mm.
especially with like emotion,
Mm-hmm.
of like letting all emotion be shared and feel safe to share that. Because like I said, we spoke about a lot, my mum and I felt like it was more like back and forth between us. But if anything was like, especially with sadness or hurt, and I was actually like expressing that emotion, like crying, it was like, okay, you need to settle down. That's too much. You're being over dramatic, kind of thing. So that's where it comes up a lot when Eden's having that big emotion.
Mm.
And that's why, like, now that she's having it so much, I want to like run away because it's just so draining. Yeah.
So it seems to me that it's not about the amount of time you spend together,
Mm,
but the type of time you spend together, the presence in the moment when you are together. You know, the physical touch, the when she's older, probably also the verbal, the connection, the, you know, connecting deeply. It seems like she also has a need for that. She doesn't know how to ask for that need yet, but
Mm.
it's kind of all sort of stems from quality time. And when you're sort of pushing that, going, oh, you know, I have to spend more time because it's about the amount of time, it's about, and I've got to be there, you know, that takes too much energy off of you. So you're not, the quality time that you have, you're exhausted. And you know,
Mm-hmm.
because you feel like you need to be on all the time, I need to constantly give her quality
Mm-hmm.
time, whilst maybe it's not about that. Maybe it's actually about, when you're there, being really present, so that you can also allow it to fly, you know, jump off and fly the nest, and test her wings with other children, with school, with whatever it is, right? um because she has that sense of security from you. But maybe you don't have to do it all the time. Maybe it's not about the amount of time.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And like, I'm so aware of it, like on a day like today where I've had, you know, I've done some work before now and I've come to this session and, you know, hearing of everyone doing their work or connecting with like-minded people and then doing some more work after, like how present I feel when she comes home, or just being able to listen and be attentive. It's like it's there, I know it, but it's still like this ego comes up or whatever it is like, no, it's the amount of time, or it's that's how she's gonna like learn how to soothe or whatever. But there's the strongest pull away from that as well.
So can I ask you
That's
this?
just not authentic and real.
Yeah. Can I ask you, when you were a child, it seems like you had a similar craving, quality time,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but there wasn't a lot of that quality time. So you tried to grab any time that you could. But I'm curious if it wasn't, if that's the truth, or if it actually was, um, no matter how much time you got to spend, it wasn't enough because it didn't feel like quality time.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it. Because like, yeah, that's what I could couldn't wrap my head around, and how much my relationship has kind of shifted, or the walls have gone up with my mum now. Is like she would always, I feel like she would always say like, I self-sacrificed so much, you know, time for you, gave so much time for you, and almost makes me feel guilty as to, well, why am I feeling this way, you know? But that is exactly it, is because yes, the time was there, but the deep connection and presence wasn't. Yeah, and it's really this is hard to accept now. Not accept, but just like accept the way the relationship is now. But you still want that, but you also want to protect yourself and your family. So like, and it comes up all the time, like this word of like abandoning people. And I know I've spoken about this before, like feeling like I'm abandoning them because I am putting boundaries up and walls up to protect myself now, and like to get my needs met by myself, and like by my love, my husband, but mostly by myself. Like how I can do this for myself and put myself in other positions with other people who are wanting to understand more about themselves, and giving space like here to actually be heard and feel safe and validated. Yeah, that's just really heavy to accept. Like, serious mummy issues and not wanting to do the same, like repeat the same pattern for my daughter. It's just that feel like a heavy weight. But yeah, like you said, it's this quality time piece is not benefiting anyone when it's forceful. Makes so much sense.
If you had the opportunity or the possibility to speak to that child, speak to yourself when you were young and needing that time, quality time, and love, what would you say? What does she need to hear?
You're safe to say how you feel or express how you feel, and that your feelings are valid. And that, I don't know, I had this like strong attachment that and there was obviously the safety that I couldn't do anything without her, like on my own, until I found someone else that could support me to do, or just be there to support me to do that. And I know that has a lot to do with attachment, to like make your child feel like they have security enough at home to be able to go and spread their wings and try new things. And that was something that I really struggled with, even till probably 16, 17, until I met like other people that were probably more independent to support me there. And it makes sense like why I've always kind of been in a relationship too, you know, feeling like I need to have someone there, not necessarily like fulfilling my need of like a deep support, but just someone there. Yeah, I always think of how that attachment style plays out in relationships. Like I've always had long-term relationships with like people that are good to me, respectful of me, and that I can trust, but not like, especially with Locke now, like we're now that I'm doing the work, we're going a lot deeper together. But it's always been like that's what I craved, that deep connection. And I wasn't aware of it until now.
Mm. So when you're building that
Like I
foundation
need
and that
to,
big deep connection with your partner, it seems to me that that creates that level of safety and security for you to be able to feel strong to pursue and do what you
mm,
want to do. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I'm literally seeing like a pattern replay right in front of me, even though it doesn't feel aligned. And if anything, causes more resistance or like affecting the relationship in a way that I don't want it to, like with Eden. Like I said, I feel so much shame in saying that, like, being with her all day doesn't light me up. But I know it's just because we don't have that present, fully present time to connect deeply.
Mm.
Because I'm not giving myself the time to connect deeply with myself
Mm.
throughout the day.
And maybe also, if you would do that, if you would have more quality time and also more time for you, um, that could also benefit her, because that would allow her to practice standing on her own 2 feet, dealing with things that happen outside of the family unit, um, needing to deal with all of that, giving her a taste of what life is, right? Because that is life, dealing with things that are not always easy and handed to you on a silver platter. It's like life can be hard, and it gives her that opportunity to explore those things through play and all these other things that children do at that age. So maybe it's not necessarily a negative thing to allow her to have that time for exploration outside of the family unit as well.
Yeah, 100%. And then knowing she's coming back to a safe environment where she feels like her parents are present with her and she's safe and she can express however she wants to, which I know she will. She'll hold it all in all day, which is what children do if they feel safe. Hold it in all day and then come home and explode. Yeah. So, yeah, I think there's like fear in that too, is like we're dealing with such big emotion now. It's like, oh, there's going to be more of it. But then I also know, well, no, you've had that time throughout the day to do those things that put you in your flow state, that you'll be able to actually be a lot more present and engaged with it when she does get home.
Yeah.
As long as I don't make our schedule busy or, fill up with busyness to suppress it or avoid it.
Which will also give you a bit of time for you to do your stuff, your other things. You can be very present in that. You don't have to maybe feel as guilty or shame around that. So you can give yourself that time so that you can then be more present with her when you do have that time together.
And already like now seeing how that's related to my childhood and how it's like a reoccurring pattern of like a need that I felt like wasn't met. Like I already feel a release of pressure in terms of like it's the right decision, and I know she'll get so much out of it, like, and be able to come home to a lot more regulated and present parent. And just like celebrating the work I've done so far as well. Like I feel like that's something that I don't acknowledge a lot, is like the changes that I've made in my life, of like before moving into this work. I worked in schools and I still am in schools, but just the over I had, and this is why I'm drawn to this work. Like I had my children who felt safe at school to express to me, and so I was almost this like therapist at school as well as this teacher or parent. Like I was filling all these roles for these children and then coming home like an empty shell with how busy the system then is anyway. And just the shifts that I've made, like letting go of that role to be able to do this work to support parents, to then support children. Just knowing that everything's happening for me as well, and also celebrating how far I've come to move out of that pretty much led to burnout to then make shifts in my life that are aligned, and knowing that I'm modeling that to my daughter now.
Yeah. Yeah, and on that note, that idea of giving a lot when you're away because you're in a position where, you're dealing with children and emotions, and my guess is you might be very empathic as well, so you can feel people and you take it on, and if they feel pain, you can relate to that pain and all that sort of stuff. So it can get quite overwhelming when we're in an environment where there's a lot of that going on, so we come home and we're exhausted. Which can ultimately lead to burnout and all these other things as well. And, when it comes to that, setting up boundaries is not a bad thing. It's saying, I'm setting up these boundaries for protection of myself. And what comes up for me there is the difference in between giving yourself away, or giving yourself continuously, and giving from yourself. So when we I'll give you an explanation. It relates, but it might sound like it doesn't. But in Sweden, we have a particular way of singing called kulning. And when you learn how to sing this ancient way, what the first thing you get taught is you need to understand how to hold your energy. Because what the song is all about is about projecting a very high pitched so that you will be able to be heard from kilometers away, because it's a calling song. And what you learn is that if you don't hold your own energy and give it from yourself, and you're actually just giving all of yourself, you lose your energy and you'll have no voice left. So you've got to learn to hold your energy and at the same time project your energy. And it's kind of what's going on here, right? So it's the difference in between you holding your energy and projecting your energy, or being really present and being there for people when you're doing your work, or when you're in the world doing your thing, or giving so much of yourself that you are literally giving your energy away. There's a big difference. And this is where those boundaries come in, where we can set up those boundaries and go, and it's okay for me to give from myself. But when I start giving of everything from myself, everything of myself, I just give it all. I give myself away. I need to start noticing when I do that, and how to set up the boundaries so that I can hold my own energy. Because what empaths normally do is they give all of themselves away. So they're exhausted at the end of the day, which leads to burnout ultimately, or making you feel horrible. And then you snap at your kids and you just feel yuck, because you just don't have any energy left. So in that sense, working on your boundaries and actually looking at, okay, where do I give away my power? What are the situations that I do that, and how can I set up boundaries for myself so that I can be present, I can direct my energy, I can support people, I can be very humble, I can be compassionate, but I'm still holding my own energies. Do you understand that? Can you feel the difference?
Absolutely. And that's like doing this work, particularly in like module seven now, of how like you structure your sessions with clients, is your poet model of like how important it is for you to do the work and set the boundaries and be aware of your triggers, to then be able to hold that energy to be able to fully give to your clients or create that space. And I just seeing how far I've come already, like I said before, just like celebrating that. And yes, boundaries are hard, especially when you've been that empath or always given your whole self. just kind of celebrate, okay, you can do it. You can set boundaries. Yeah, it's difficult, but the more you do it, the easier it'll become. And then you're actually able to hold that energy and give to people the same way that you want to without affecting yourself and your family.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is a practice. This is not like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. Easy. Next. You know, it really
Yeah.
is something to really go deep on ourselves. Really, really be open to understand what makes us give our energy or our power away. What are those triggers? What are those things that makes us do that? It could be situations, it could be people, it could be, you know, it could be places, it could be anything, right? Triggers that we have. So I would, you know, I think this would be a really fun thing for you to do and a very productive and positive thing for you to start noticing.
Yeah.
And even, you know, you can sit down after this call, you can write down what are the things that it drains me of energy or helps me lose my power. Like I feel, and where does that sit? Like where does your power sit? When you feel totally empowered, where does that sit in you, Ali?
Like my chest, my shoulders.
Yep. See how you notice,
Yeah.
see how you changed your position, like how you sat differently.
And I even noticed it with you. Yeah. When you were talking like about the singing and how you like, you hold that energy. And every time you said hold that energy, you were like upright.
Yeah.
Everything was a lot more in power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. So that's it, right? Open chest, completely open. Yeah. So you're open, right? Which is where your vulnerability will start triggering you going, oh, you need to close up. You need to, this is not comfortable. This is how you get hurt and vulnerable. No, actually it's not. When you're holding your energy here, gosh, you're powerful. Oh my gosh. People will listen to you. You can help people. You can be so damn supportive. You can be there for your kids. Like, because you're holding your energy and you are just directing that energy. You have got as much as you want because it keeps flooding in, right? When you feel like, oh my God, I'm too vulnerable, I can't do this, and or something happens where you get, it's almost like someone hits you in the solar plexus and you lose that energy, you got nothing. And you know this is what happens, right? Literally, you know, that's what depressed people looks like, you know, like when you're that's what happens. Your body caves inwards. So when we start to notice those things, what are those triggers that I have even through the day? Oh, there's things happening when I do this with my hand. Even through the day, even through the day, you can start noticing that about yourself. Interesting. Like I feel really empowered right now. Oh, something happened there where I feel like, oh, I lost a bit of power there. What was that? Interesting. You just be interested and curious about it. What are those things that makes me lose my energy?
Yeah.
Situation, particular people, or certain traits of people. It could be anything. And I don't want to say what it is because
Yeah.
that's your journey, right? There's no
Could
right
be
or wrong
any.
here. It
Yeah.
could be anything, right? You
Yeah.
know, a thing that you've spoken about today is when I spend a ton of time with someone because I feel like I have to, I lose my energy. When I spend
Yeah.
quality time with somebody because I really want to, my guess is you probably feel very empowered. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I have deep
Already noticing now,
conversations.
just in this
Yeah.
conversation. Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God. Like even sharing before, how I was like, because there was that shame and guilt in sharing that. And now, like, already just wanting to sit back and listen. And yes, the power of body language.
So start noticing what happened to my body there. Oh, you know where your power sits. You're very self-aware, so that's great. You know, some people are not, but you're very self-aware. So you already know this is where my power sits. So start noticing. When am I losing? And when am I losing just a little bit? And when am I losing all of it? When do I feel like I've literally
Yeah.
been hit in my solar plexus? Or when am I just like certain things just sort of something happens and I just do lose a bit of it. You know, that's
Mm.
important to notice and start
Yeah, because they
jotting that
build up.
down.
Yep.
Mm.
Yep. Yes, I love that. Love that.
And start noticing when you are also feeling empowered, when something happens and you are feeling
Mm.
that. Hmm. You know,
Yep.
and what happens to your body? How do you speak? How does your voice change? What happens to you? Sometimes it can be hard to hear this ourselves, but just notice, oh, I feel really good right now. I feel like I can conquer the world. Okay, how does that feel? How does my, if I would speak right now, or if I would speak my mind to someone right now, how would I use my voice
How to just,
in comparison to, oh, I don't feel so good, da, 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 or we've lost our
mm.
power, right? So start noticing these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that we started to kind of gauge, there's just two parts. There's like when you've lost your energy to when you feel self-empowered. So energy, feeling powerful and powerless. And we can kind of start to have a look at, oh, what makes me go off the scale on this side? What makes me feel more empowered, right? So that we can
Mm.
start playing with that and become really self-aware of what are those triggers, what are those things. And then next
Yeah.
time we can have a chat about some insights that you might have had or something that you might have noticed through this little excursion.
Already can feel it. Like
Yeah.
just noticing, like I said at the start, like the fear of what's going to come up. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, not in my power. And
Mm-hmm.
now, like, knowing I can be aware of that, knowing where it's going to come, like, just when I'm in my power to check in with myself and to acknowledge that. And that's
Yeah.
not on anyone else. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a really good point you just put there, because we can be in a situation where we're going, oh, I feel like I'm a bit worried that I don't know what's going to happen, and we can
Mm.
feel like someone is taking our power away. We give our power away, or we can approach it with, and I'm going to embrace that. I feel a bit apprehensive about today. And the minute we
Mm.
acknowledge it, something happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like it loses its power, like we actually gain it back.
Absolutely.
So that's interesting, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. That's been a big thing for me is like acknowledging a feeling or emotion as just a feeling and emotion, not spiraling with it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're not our emotions, they come and go. And yeah, that's been a super powerful thing in my journey is to like acknowledge the emotion, feel it for however not, but it doesn't spiral then because you just acknowledged it.
Yeah.
You've still got power over it. Yeah.
Yeah. What's been your insight today?
Like that I am in control of my power and I can be aware of that. And so many insights, but just the patterns that are playing out in my life that don't align with me and I'm feeling such a push against. But um, yeah, knowing that the things that are coming up and the small little um, changes that we're making are the right, that, yeah, it's right and it's aligning with me as much as I like that ego comes up. It's, yeah.
Yeah. Do you
And I'm in
draw?
control of my power.
Do you draw or do
Sorry.
anything else creative?
No,
Okay. Have you ever done it before
because
when
we
you were
discussed
little?
this last time.
No.
No,
Okay. Okay. Ever done it when
really
you
good
not
point.
even when you were younger?
No,
Yeah.
and that's another thing. Like as a teacher as
Mm.
well, whenever we'd do like something crafty, I would like straight away go into the mindset, no, like Miss Robinson can't draw, like I can try. And it was just like shut down. Like I'd try something, it's like someone else come up and try for me.
Okay. So
Um,
have you got any pens at home? My guess is you do because you got
yeah.
little ones. Yeah. So you don't have to show this to anyone. But I think it would be really fun if you would, after this session, take a white piece of paper, take a normal pen, use your non-dominant hand if you want. So if you're left-handed, use your right. If you're right-handed, use left. Close your eyes. Feel into how you're feeling right now and let your hand move however it wants. Scribble until you feel like your scribbling's done. Open your eyes and color it in with however you want.
I love that.
See what you see, and then look at it and see what you see.
Love that. I will do that straight after this.
Yeah. I'm not going to say more than that, but I think that would be a really fun exercise for you. Because you can't be perfect.
That's it. That's exactly right.
And see what happens when you're
exactly
not.
right.
Yeah, especially if you use your non-dominant hand as well. I'm left-handed, so it would be my right. Right.
Yeah.
Your brain's going, what the hell are you doing? But
I know.
great. And then open up your eyes, see what you see.
Okay.
You can turn it around in different directions and see what you see. If you don't see anything, that's cool. And just color it in, however you want. And once you're finished, yeah, have a look and see what you notice and see how you feel afterwards.
I will. Thank you.
I'll see you in a few weeks.
It's funny, like I say that I love that.
Yeah.
But even in my head, I'm like, oh, fuck, that sounds a bit, I'm not in control.
No.
You know?
I know.
Like,
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just
yeah, you know, like
I'd
I'm just
love
like,
for
that
you to
sounds
try
fun.
it.
No, I'm going to, but you know, like I'm like, it sounds fun, but really I'm like, it does not sound fun for me.
No, I know.
So I'm intrigued. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Good.
Just being honest.
My sense is that there's a little playful part of you.
Of course, yeah.
That
yeah.
would
And I want
really
her to
enjoy
come
that.
out more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ellie.
Thanks, Madelaine. That was great.